I think we can get started. Welcome to the session. The topic of this last presentation of today is 12 tips to become a successful Galaxy Store seller. My name is Niklas Lyback. I'm part of the developer success team. My goal is that you as a seller, you are financially successful. My presentation consists of kind of 12 tips. If you are an experienced seller, you have something in content in Galaxy Store. This is, you may find the presentation a few useful tips and tricks. My presentation is not for new sellers. I will not go through the basics, how to create the seller office account, how to create the content, how seller office works. if you are considering to be a seller, come to visit us at the Galaxy Watch and Theme booth. We have a product manager of Seller Office, can explain you how to get started. If you have not been whitelisted for Galaxy Watch or themes, you can talk to the team, how do I get whitelisted, access to the tools. I will not cover those in my presentation. So this is more or less useful if you have already content in your store, at the store. There was also if you're an Android game publisher, there was a very useful session presented by Gabby Rojas at 2:30 earlier today about onboarding with Samsung in-app purchase. If you're a game publisher, that session covers a lot of the onboarding. That might be a very useful session for you if you are an Android publisher and wants to use Samsung in-app purchase. After my session, we'll have a Q&A. We can use the mic in the middle, or you can shout the question. I will repeat it for the audio. So it would be great to have a few questions at the end. Let's start.
Watch. Games. Fonts. Style. Themes. Store. Style up your Galaxy life. Samsung Galaxy Store.
So the 12 tips that I have collected for this presentation basically span across the development phase to the engagement phase. So basically, they're a bit siloed, most of them apply to all of these sellers, some just, for example, for gear sellers. So let me go through them, and let's start with the tip number 1. So if you're developing content, you may not know that if you don't have a Samsung device, either it's the Galaxy phone, tablet, or Galaxy smartwatch, you can remotely access the device using Remote Test Lab. It does not cost you anything, so you can find most of the Samsung device variants available. It's basically you access the real devices over the internet, and it's not accessing an emulator, you're reserving and accessing a real device. So it's cost efficient. You don't need to buy a device if you don't have, and especially if you get a crash report from a variant that is difficult to source in a market where you are located. Let's say it's an Asian variant or European variant, then it's very handy to have that service available. Recently, we added Note 10s and Galaxy Fold, so you can test your Android APKs on those devices. Beta QoS will be added in December of this year, and then you can test your games or Android titles on those devices running QoS. Early 2020, the UI will change. At the moment, you need to download the Java plugin, but early 2020, it'll be totally web-based. It's more convenient to use. It's a good improvement, and the UI will look like this. Tip number 2, at the Seller Office, we launched recently new statistics module. It has a new dashboard summarizing your daily sales. You can use a feature to compare. You can select a custom period or default period, and see when you do changes in your content, you can see what was a before and after effect. So help you make your business decision when you manage your content at the seller office. Tip 3, some changes that you may not be aware that has been recently launched, Seller Portal. So if you're a game publisher, sometimes for PR reasons, it's important to set the time when the content is released. So that is now a new feature. If you are a gear watch seller, you create a lot of brands. One brand, let's say, techie watch faces, another brand, very high-end content, another brand for female designs. Now you can transfer your content, regardless of the type, between your different seller portal accounts. This is the screenshot of the picture of the transfer functionality. Also, a feature in the seller portal is sub-accounts. This means basically permissions. If you're an individual, you're doing everything, and you need to recruit a helper to help with the customer feedback. Now you can do that easily so that you create a sub-account that this individual, your helper, can take only care of the customer feedback, and the seller, the person, will not be able to access your financial reports. So that will be released fourth quarter or beginning of 2020. And this is what the different profiles of sub-accounts. Pricing template, I will discuss later in my presentation about the importance of correct local pricing. Pricing template basically means that you set the prices for 100+ countries. You define what's US and all the other countries, and then you can apply the same template every time you submit some new content, whether it's a themes or watch faces or in-app purchase. Otherwise, it's a very tedious process at the moment without this pricing template. It's in the works, will be launched late this year, beginning of next year. Tip number 4, this only applies to the sellers selling content for Galaxy Watch. We have a new version of the Galaxy Watch Asset Creator. We have Tony presenting. He created this Photoshop Smart template. He's available at the Galaxy Watch and Theme booth. So when you have your drinks later tonight, come to see Tony, and he can demonstrate this tool. It's super, super important to have amazing icon and screenshots, because 99% of the content in the Galaxy Watch store is paid content. So it's not try and buy, it's not in-app purchase. Basically, consumer decides based on the screenshots whether I'm willing to buy, and after the purchase, they can then use it on their watch. So basically creating amazing, professional-looking screenshots. You upload your screenshot, and it applies it on the template. It generates a folder with all the assets, which you can then easily upload to the seller portal. It's just a tool for you to help creating amazing screenshots, resulting to better conversion. New version, we did a couple of enhancements. One is that on this design, you see the icon, how it nicely blends to the white background of the store. That's a very elegant way of kind of makes it appealing. And I added the device pictures, including the Galaxy Watch Active 2. So you can decide whether you want to show Active 2, Active, or S3 or S2. So the tool will have all of those layers available, so you don't need to spend time sourcing those high-resolution images. And I have an example. Here's a Australian designer, Rob Woodbine, and you can see how he has customized the template. for the icon and then the screenshots. Kind of a nice, I especially like the screen 3 and 4, how it creates a journey, kind of makes it kind of you want to scroll, and it's kind of playful in a sense. And you can see it, you can go to Galaxy Store door/bind. You can see these actual screenshots in production. I took a screenshot from the store. Now you can see how he has applied the icon and the screenshot. So makes it appealing, kind of consumer feel, I really want to buy and use this watch face on my device. Correct price visualization. We've noticed that many sellers use the automated currency conversion in the tool. It's a very common approach. Set the US 99 cents or 1.99 cents and using the currency conversion just to convert it automatically. But if you are then a customer in the European Union, you see that's 87 euro cents. That's an odd price point. Same, it's then 1,184 Korean wons. Looks odd. So we would recommend that you do use in the top markets, those 5, 6 US and European Union at least, I would recommend to use the correct price visualization. I think this slide shows it very well, kind of a $99, 99 US cents, 99 euro cents, and 1,000 Korean wons, or then the same for $2 and so forth. So, or you can then use it $1.49, but you get the point. It's kind of these 87 cents, they just look odd for the user perspective. And I think this seems to be, these markets, US and Europe, make the majority of your revenue. So I would recommend, and Korea, of course, kind of that's important. For emerging markets, it gets a bit more complicated, and I think it's kind of requires a lot of effort. But one approach is to use the Big Mac index. So economists had created an alternative to currency conversion. They basically collect the Big Mac, the price of the Big Mac in different markets. So it's kind of like a different kind of currency conversion. Basically, the idea is to measure the purchasing parity of the value of the dollar in the respective markets. So just to make it simple, so if Big Mac is about $5 in the US, and if you use the currency conversion, it's about 37 US dollars equivalent in India. So you get the, or here. So you get an idea that for the Indians, the $5 US is about a price of a ribeye. So it's expensive. So we have to take into account the value of the dollar. So another example, $1 US is about 70 rupees in India, if you just use the direct currency conversion. But if you ask an Indian person that what is the equivalent amount that you would charge for the user, most of them would say it's between 15 and 20 rupees. So it gives you an idea that how you can, for the emerging markets, how you could use the Big Mac index to price your content for the emerging markets. Okay, tip number 7. So I have listed, so we have a service, remote Galaxy Store. This service allows you to access the regional Galaxy stores. So here's the example. I'm a seller in Sweden. I can see the Galaxy Store in Sweden, but I don't see the US store, I don't see the Korean store, I don't see the German store, I don't see the Russian store, the stores that make majority of my money. So the way that you can access the regional stores, regardless where you are, is to use Remote Galaxy Store. It's a desktop application. And basically, I have listed here based on the first half 2019 revenue, what are the top stores for the Android content, top 10 markets for the watch, and top 10 markets for themes. So these are for your seller. If your objective is to make a revenue, these are the top 10 markets depending on your application type where I would recommend to focus. Use the remote Galaxy Store to optimize your content, make sure that the search engine finds your content, verify the pricing, maybe localization, maybe you have localized your text, and you also see what's trending. All of these lists, these features are different based on the country. We recently added China and Turkey as well, as they appeared on the top lists. Tip number 8, good ratings are even more important. So here's the screenshot from the Android or the Galaxy Store highlighting Android content. Same screenshot from the Galaxy Watch Store. And these lists are extremely important for many sellers. You want to be featured on these lists because it's more or less permanent or semi-permanent placement. That consumer goes to these lists and see what's the top selling. So since the latest Galaxy Store update end of September, there has been some new rules. So content that doesn't have 2.5 stars will not be visible on those lists. And if the content doesn't have 10 ratings, it will not be on the list. So that means that this is very important that you encourage your consumers to rate your content so that you meet these two thresholds. So what can you do? If you're a watch face maker using Gear Watch Face Designer, it's basically ask users a favor when they are happy with your content. If you're doing an Android application, like here I had the screenshot from a Samsung Gallery application, is you prompt user, would you like to rate my app? And I think that's pretty much an industry standard for any Android application. But basically you proactively, when they like your app, kind of get the positive review in the store. You can do the same if you're creating a Tizen wearable apps that you can control. You can show a pop-up that appears on the device. Tip number 9, this one is easy. You don't need to do anything. It's more or less information only. Galaxy Store now is available on the desktop. That was a feedback from many sellers that Galaxy Store was only on Samsung phones. So the desktop pages are now supported. And the benefit for you is that the search engines will find your content. So if you type your title in Google, Bing, it will find you. You don't need to do anything. It's done automatically. Android applications and wearable is supported. At the moment. If you are an Android, typically a game publisher, sellers use following attribution platforms like Branch, Firebase, AppsFlyer, and Kochava to track their attribution. Those can be configured to operate with the Galaxy Store. Tip number 11, we are working to upgrade our discussion board, i.e. the Samsung forum. And in part of the discussion functionality, will be rolling out a voting functionality so that the sellers like yourself, you have a feature that you would like Samsung to implement. Now, basically, the community can then vote for your requirement. We can see that requirement number this 15 has 1,500 votes. That's a good indication for the product manager that this is a community agrees with you. This is important. So this is a feature that will be launching in fourth quarter, both the new discussion board, the forum, as well as then the voting module. So it basically helps you and helps us to improve. We know what's important for you. Tip number 12, promotion request. So this is if you get featured, you get selected, this is the easiest way to increase your revenue. Historically, a promotion request increase your revenue for that item or your content 4x. So it's a significant increase during the 2-week period. And basically how you do it, if you're a Galaxy theme seller, theme magazine, you should log into the theme magazine if you're an approved theme seller, and you get announcements of content types, let's say Halloween, winter, spring, etc., and basically suggest your content to be included. This is a way you get discovered. In theme store, mostly we feature content sets. However, in the gear store, it's about featuring the sellers. So then if you're a gear seller, Android seller, and you have some custom content that you should make us aware that you have that content, is go to the developer program and submit a promotion request. And basically here we have the Halloween content sets. So basically when you tap on that, you'll see themes with Halloween content spanning across different sellers. But in the gear store, you see banners that will link to sellers' individual portfolio. So a little bit different approaches between these two stores, but the kind of be active with your promotion request. That's an easy way to get discovered. Our editorial team will review your content and include if we can. So some resources I've highlighted on this slide. And now if you have any questions, you can shout. I can try to repeat. Also, I'm available after this session if you want to discuss. Any questions?
So great job getting Android and wearables visible on the web. Okay? What's the plan for themes?
Good question. The question was that that we've launched the desktop pages for Android and Gear. What's the plan for themes? So at the moment, I cannot define when that's going to happen. We understand. We think it's important. So I think it's undefined at the moment. Any other questions? Great. Well, thank you for joining this session. I think there will be some drinks and Halloween activities later this evening. So hopefully you stay here. And if you have some other questions, I'm available. And you can find myself and the team at the Galaxy Watch and Theme booth tomorrow. Thank you.